Hey guys, how's it going? So over the past week, I've been trying to get you another battle. I've gotten a lot of requests to do another battle, and unfortunately, I have some battles, but they're all like not really competitive. Like I'm not using great teams and I'm winning really easily. So there is just such a large variation in skill on the Festival Plaza. It's not like the PSS where I could sort of see how many wins they had so I could battle the right trainer for a battle I wanted to do. Um, but because I was getting a lot of trainers of such low skill, which is fine. Like Pokemon is a game, like this game was, definitely targeted in a lot of ways for beginners. I think it's great that a lot of people are getting into Pokemon, but it doesn't make this easy for me. So I decided to use this team that I call Look Mom, no TMs. None of these Pokemon can learn TMs, and let's get started. So we got a Smeargle versus Arcanine, and somehow I outspeed the Arcanine. Once I do that, I realize, all right, so this is going to be the type of battle I need to maybe win with this team. So Arcanine falls asleep, and I'm now going for Stealth Rock. Oh no, Sticky Web. Okay, so this Smeargle has Spore, Sticky Web, Stealth Rock, and Toxic Spikes. Sticky Web is the most important move, which is why I use it first, because my Pokemon are all super slow, and I need that decrease in speed if I'm going to take some of them out. Next, they go for Stealth Rock just for some damage, because Stealth Rock hits both land-based and flying enemies, although I don't think they had a flying enemy. But, I use this against all sorts of trainers. Never know what you're going to face. Now, Lurantis goes for Brick Break, so we've just learned some new meta for Lurantis. So I'm going to, thank you, Mr. Stormy, for teaching me about physical Lurantis with Brick Break. That is definitely going on one of my new teams when I battle. I need to see how useful that is. Brick Break Lurantis. You saw it here first, guys. Okay, so I send out my Caterpie. I'm really hoping that with Bugnium Z and with probably not a lot of perfect IVs and EVs on this Lurantis, I can take it out with a Savage Spin Out. So we get this really cool animation. My Caterpie, is spinning it into a web and it hits it once and it drags it and it flings it into the air and it breaks the cocoon and it does 60% damage, which is still pretty good. I mean, it's Caterpie with no buffs. But I would have liked to done a little bit more than that because now I know I am not going to be able to take this thing out. Unfortunately, it has X-Scissor and that does just over half. So that combination really would come back to bite me later in the battle because I kind of wanted this Caterpie to stick around, but no dice. Caterpie goes down to that second X-Scissor and Lurantis is still on the field. I don't yet want to use my Ditto because I really don't want to become this Lurantis. Lurantis once again goes for X-Scissor. It does a little bit of damage, but my Beldum has a Choice Band and its only move Takedown, and that's going to be more than enough to take out Lurantis. So, it right now is 2-1 them, but don't worry, I will even up the score soon enough. So, before I do that, we have to talk about this thing. This Mudsdale was the Pokemon I was probably most scared of. Mudsdale has, even with improper, training or breeding, very good HP, very good defense, very hard for me to take out with, the Pokemon I have. I don't have any water or ice Pokemon or Pokemon with those moves. So I anticipate a ground move. I switch into my Blissey, which is just my Tynamo with an Eviolite. Why run Tynamo with Eviolite? It worked. Now, I didn't know what move it would use against me. I was hoping for it to swap out, but if it didn't, I was kind of thinking, all right, well, maybe I could swap in my Ditto, and Ditto's Transform actually will take the stat boosts. So I'd have a bunch of boosts in defense, and I was thinking, all right, maybe I'd be able to, sweep with Mudsdale, like my Ditto has Mudsdale. I go for another tackle, and what sort of put a damper on that strategy was that I knew I'd have trouble outspeeding everything, even with the Sticky Web, but I definitely wouldn't be able to outspeed if I was hit by a Rock Tomb, and unfortunately, of course, this had Rock Tomb. Now, if I had Toxic Spikes out there, that would have done a little more damage, but even one layer is doing quite a nice bit of damage to that Mudsdale, so it's already under half. Now, I don't want to lose Tynamo because I really am going to need to switch Ditto out quite a bit, and I obviously need to switch into something. So it goes for Rock Tomb, and with all those stamina boosts and the fact it's Mudsdale, it does 7 damage, which is actually a little more than I thought it would do. I get a stamina boost, and now it's a speed tie, so I'm a little worried. Mudsdale once again takes some poison damage, and I go for High Horsepower. That's its most powerful move they have on this thing. And they swap into Primarina. So I was wondering if I'd be able to take up Primarina with one attack from Mudsdale. So let's find out. Will I be able to? So the Primarina takes Stealth Rock damage. It gets poison. So I pretty much would need to do 76% damage with this. So I get a high horsepower, and it doesn't quite do that. It does maybe more 60%. So that Primarina is still around on a bit of health. In fact, that's still more than 12%. So that sucks. If I would have taken it out, that would have been quite nice, but what can you do? So Primarina goes for Sparkling Aura. I switch into my Magikarp because when else am I going to use this thing? Magikarp survives on 1 health because I have a Focus Sash. And as you could probably figure, I'm going to use the most overpowered move in the entire game with Magikarp, Flail. And that's going to do like enough damage to take out Primarina. So Magikarp took out a Pokemon in this battle. And for that reason alone, I uploaded this video because this Magikarp never, even in the single player game, never took out anything. So, very happy. Anyway, this Parasect, also annoying because I don't want to become Parasect, especially because they have an Arcanine left on their team. So, I didn't know what Parasect was going to use, didn't know what I wanted to swap into it, so I just allowed my Magikarp to faint. Now, if I knew it was Grass Knot, I would have swapped in like Beldum or even Ditto would have been fine. Didn't know, so I went for Flail, did some decent damage. Once Magikarp faints, I know I'm going to just swap in Ditto and hope it has some sort of a bug move. I figured it has to have like X-Scissor or something. So I'm going to become the Parasect. In case you don't know, I am using a Choice Scarf with Imposter. This is a pretty standard strategy for Ditto. It does have X-Scissor, and down goes the Parasect. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we are right now tied at 3 Pokemon apiece. But out comes another Pokemon I'm not looking forward to, and that's this Arcanine. So I'm locked into X-Scissor. I am a Parasect. None of that works for me right now. So I'm going to swap into my Dynamo, hoping I maybe could get off a few Charge Beams, a Spark, something like that. Maybe do a little bit of damage to this Arcanine. I don't want to swap in Beldum, obviously, but Arcanine wakes up and goes for the Flamethrower, and that's going to take out my Dynamo. So that sucks. Alright, now I'm going to send back in my Ditto because Beldum's not going to be able to take out this Arcanine at this amount of health. I transform into the Arcanine, get off an Intimidate, which is pretty useful, and this Arcanine did have extreme speed, so I go for the extreme speed. Obviously I had speed because I'm Choice Scarfed, and I don't do quite as much damage as I thought I would, which means I'm going to, it's going to be a 3-hit KO, and because of Ditto's poor HP and Arcanine's pretty decent base attack, it's going to do quite a bit of damage. I think it's going to take me to under half. It does. So that's not ideal, but I needed to take this thing out, and now we're at 2 apiece. So they have left a Mudsdale and a Zygarde 10%. I got Ditto and Beldum. So out comes the Mudsdale, and unfortunately, Stealth Rock does very little damage. I am not convinced I'm going to be able to take it out with extreme speed. Maybe Flare Blitz, I would have gone for it, but not extreme speed. So I have to swap into my Beldum. I need my Ditto for Zygarde. I'm not going to be able to take it out with Beldum. So I have to sacrifice my Beldum, and now I'm pretty confident I'm going to be able to take out this Mudsdale with high horsepower, so I swap in. I would have liked to have gotten 1 stamina off. I think it would have made a pretty big difference. But I'm going to become Mudsdale, and now I know that pretty much this battle rests on how fast their Zygarde is, because if I outspeed Zygarde with the Sticky Web on the field, I win. If I don't, it's going to take me out, and I lose. So this is the moment of truth. Zygarde comes on the field. It is the 10% form, so it is the fastest form of Zygarde, but also the weakest in terms of attack. So it loses speed, takes a bit of damage from Stealth Rocks, gets poisoned, uses Aura Break, which, as you know, is completely useless in this situation. So I'm locked into high horsepower, and unfortunately, even with my Choice Scarf and that Sticky Web, I get outsped. I survive, and I get off the high horsepower, and that is the battle. I lose. I was so close. Look how close I was. 1 more poison. If I just somehow would have found a way to get 1 more Pokemon to survive, especially Dynamo, I could have avoided the Land's Wrath, and it would have, gone down to poison. I would have won. But this battle was still way more entertaining than I thought it would be. I guess I could go over my sets. Most of them are pretty much the moves you can get on the Pokemon. Caterpie is Tackle, String Shot, and Bug Bite with Bugnium Z in a Beast Ball called 2OP because, let's face it, it was 2OP. Magikarp had Tackle, Splash, and Flail with a Focus Sash. Dynamo had an Eviolite, like I said, with Thunder Wave, which didn't really do much in the battle because they're all land-based and they all got poisoned. Charge Beam, Spark, and Tackle, which is the only move I got to use, which is funny because I never used that. Smeargle, which was very useful, had a Focus Sash, Spore, Sticky Web, Toxic Spice, and Stealth Rock. Ditto, Imposter, and a Choice Scarf, and I'm forgetting one Pokemon. Oh yes, my Choice Banded Beldum. Hey, this went so much better than all my other battles, so thank you very much for watching. Any guides you want me to make, heck, any Pokemon you want me to use in a battle. I plan to use Klutz like Lopunny or something because, a lot of you have talked about that strategy in the top 10 video. I have now been talking for too long, so thank you for watching. Take care.